Hello and welcome to another episode of Scott Reads Comics. Today I would like to cover Star Wars Return of the Jedi, #1, published in 1983 by Marvel Comics. This is the official comics adaptation of Return of the Jedi. The creative team would likely have had some access to the script and storyboards prior to the release of the movie because I think this came out in concert with the movie. And I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, that the previous two movies had been covered in the normal numbering of the regular Star Wars series. So starting with Star Wars #1, they would have covered A New Hope. And then the second movie, Empire Strikes Back, was also, I think, shoehorned into the regular continuity of the series. This time, Marvel got smart. They pulled Return of the Jedi out of the regular series and they made it its own limited series, which was the way it probably should have always been. But these things develop over time with experience. I grabbed this coverless copy for $1 from the dollar bin at New Dimension Comics here in Pittsburgh, the waterfront store. I can never resist these when I see them, no matter what state they're in. And I actually don't mind coverless comics. I've covered them before on the show. I have a whole bespoke collection of random coverless comics. And yeah, it's a fun way to read a comic. You don't really worry as much about the condition. They're great reader copies. You can throw them around, whatever. But so this was a great pickup for $1. We have an amazing front piece here, not really a splash page, by Bill Sienkiewicz, which is really cool. Let's look at our creative crew. Adapted by Archie Goodwin, art by Al Williamson and Carlos Garzon, and it is a feast for the eyes. Lettered by Ed King, a letterist who I'd never seen before. Colored by Christy Scheel and Bob Sharon, two veterans. Edited by Michael Higgins and Joe Duffy, who I believe also was the writer of the regular Star Wars title at the time. Editor-in-chief, Jim Shooter. Based on the story by George Lucas, screenplay by Lawrence Kasdan and George Lucas. So here we get our incredible shot here of our first Al Williamson, Carlos Garzon artwork. And we get, of course, the amazing crawl here. And they do a really great job reproducing that crawl here on what really amounts to the splash page of the story on this second page. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, Rebel commanders are planning their next move against the evil Galactic Empire. For the first time, all Rebel warships are being brought together to form a single giant armada. Luke Skywalker and Princess Leia have made their way to Tatooine to rescue Han Solo from the clutches of the vile gangster Jabba the Hutt. Little do they know the rebellion is doomed. The Emperor has ordered construction of a new armored space station, more powerful than the first dreaded Death Star. So here we have the amazing and menacing Darth Vader showing up on scene at the construction of the second Death Star. And this newsprint is pretty great for conveying this artwork. I really like it. Chapter 1, In the Hands of Jabba the Hutt. Through the shimmering heat of Tatooine's twin suns, two figures move toward a massive structure, rising out of the desolate sand and rock, the shorter one with steady purpose, the other with somewhat more reluctance. And so we have that amazing first scene in Return of the Jedi with C-3PO and R2 showing up to sue for Han Solo's life, basically, from Jabba the Hutt. They bring a message from Luke Skywalker. And here we get a little bit of Jabba here, but we get our first real look at Jabba in this amazing, almost full page spread. Really great. Just the mood and the verisimilitude that Williamson and Garzon bring to the artwork here, capturing the movie, the three-dimensional movie figures on the comic page is just, it's incredible. I don't really think anyone else could have done this to this level. It's fantastic. And of course we have Jabba's amazing, whatever that language he speaks, Bo Shuta. I guess it's Huttese. And here we have this. Look, this is a really good, for the technology at the time, what an incredible way to depict this holographic message. Beautiful colors by Shield and Bob Sharon here. Greetings, mighty Jabba. I am Luke Skywalker, Jedi Knight and friend of Han Solo. I seek an audience with your greatness to bargain for his life. And here's Boba Fett here. And of course, at the end of Luke's message, he mentions, these two droids, both are hardworking and will serve you well. What? What did he say? This can't be R2. You've played the wrong message, and I remember even as a kid, it's just got so many laughs in the theater watching this. It was awesome. And bargain rather than fight. This Skywalker is not the Jedi Master. True. We will keep his gift, Bib Fortuna, but there will be no bargain. I have no intention of giving up my favorite decoration. And so here we see Solo and Carbonite. And of course, C-3PO and R2 are left to the tender administrations of Jabba's household staff, including this great, like a major domo droid. Ah, new acquisition, splendid. We've been without an interpreter since the master got angry over something the last one said and disintegrated him. Disintegrated? C-3PO asks. The dialogue in this, I love Return of the Jedi, but my favorite part of the Return of the Jedi is the first 30 minutes of it, where they affect the rescue of Han Solo. We're going to get most of that here, up to the dramatic battle out in the desert, but we'll get to that in a minute. So here we get to see a preview of the not-so-tender mercies of Jabba as his dancer displeases him, and he sends her down into an uncertain doom in this pit below his throne room. And now we have two more of our players entering the scene, and boy, do I love Al Williamson's Chewbacca. So cool. Tell that swollen garbage bag he'll have to do better than that, or they'll be picking his smelly hide out of every crack in the room. I'm holding a thermal detonator. So we have the bounty hunter Bosch here. And of course, this was great. This is obviously actually Princess Leia. And this was one of the first action figures they did with a removable helmet. And she was totally great. It was my favorite Princess Leia action figure. Just an awesome one. Of course, she is not yet discovered as Bosch, or as Princess Leia. She's still maintaining her disguise. Part of the plan was to get into the palace, so Chewie is taken away. Again, there is music and noise, loud and boisterous, and there are jeers and taunts as guards haul the Wookiee prisoner away past a throng of totally hostile strangers, with perhaps one exception. So here we get our first look at Lando Calrissian in disguise, the one-time scoundrel who's now an ally of Leia and trying to get Solo free. And so here we see someone approaching the Solo and Carbonite. And again, when you bought Slave One, the ship for your 3 3/4 action figures, you got Han Solo and Carbonite with Slave One, which is totally awesome. The colors were not this cool. It was like a hunk of gray plastic, but you could clearly tell it was Solo and Carbonite. And this mysterious bounty hunter, who we know is Leia, frees him. Quiet. It's hibernation sickness. Your eyesight will return in time. Come, we've got to hurry. I'm not going anywhere. Who are you anyway? I'm someone who loves you, hotshot. But we're in Jabba's palace, and I've got to get you out of here quickly. But they are discovered. Oh, and I think these Jawas were in the movie scene. I love the way Al Williamson draws Jawas. So cool. There's a roadie in there. Han Solo did fire first, incidentally. So we'll move on. So now the jig is up here, and Leia is discovered, and she utters the most amazing line in the first part of the movie. We have powerful friends. You'll regret this, perhaps, but meanwhile, I will thoroughly enjoy the pleasure of your company. And Jabba's with his slavering tongue. It's just a disgusting, corpulent mass of evil here. And so Solo freed from carbonite, but still blind, is reunited with Chewie. All right, it's great, only you're crushing me. What's going on around here anyway? In barks and growls, the Millennium Falcon's co-pilot brings his blinded partner up to date. Luke's a Jedi Knight, and even Lando's here, going along with the kids' rescue plan. I'm out of things a little while, and everyone gets delusions. Well, pal, I'll believe it when I see it, if you'll excuse the expression. Pretty great here. So, not long after that, Luke himself shows up to bargain. And interestingly, between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, that 3 or 4 years between the two movies, Mark Hamill had sustained some injuries from some accident, and his face, he had to have a little bit, I think he had a little bit of plastic surgery, maybe, and so his face was actually a little less soft, a little more angular, and of course he was older too, so he was aging, and so really brilliantly captured here by Al Williamson is the older, wiser Luke Skywalker. Really awesome. I'm taking Captain Solo and his friends, Jabba. You can profit or be destroyed. It's your choice. I warn you not to underestimate my powers. So here, 3PO is trying to warn Luke. Luke draws his pistol, but Jabba springs his trap, and Luke is plummeting into this pit. And we know, of course, that he must now face the Rancor, which is totally great. One thing I wanted to mention too is I think for a long time, Al Williamson did the Star Wars comic strip in the syndicated newspapers. So he had a tremendous amount of experience drawing these characters, drawing these settings, bringing them to life with not a lot of room to spare as a storyteller. So this must have seemed like a luxury to him. And boy, does he take advantage of it. Look at this. This is amazing. The Rancor, carnivorous, insatiable, its hide impervious to blaster fire. Until now, Luke Skywalker thought such creatures were legend. Hobgoblins to frighten the children of Tatooine, moisture farmers. But the monster that stalks across at him along the bone-littered cavern is all too real. So really awesome here. But Luke is able to jam one of these bones of a previous victim of the Rancor in its maw, and with his Jedi-trained resourcefulness, traps the Rancor under the falling gate of its own cage, slaying it. One thing, and you can't include everything in this, I remember in the Return of the Jedi movie, the Rancor Keeper, who was an action figure himself, this tubby guy wearing a leather hood or sort of a leather cap over his head, was crying when the Rancor died. I mean, there was a brief scene, but it was kind of funny. And again, made everything more real because the Jabba's palace was this thriving mini metropolis in the desert where all these people had lives, and the Rancor Keeper had a great affection for his murderous carnivorous pet. But the triumph is brief. Grabbed by outraged guards, Luke finds himself facing the Hutt again, only this time, Han and Chewbacca are brought to join him. For your extreme offense, the great Jabba demands all three of you pay with the most torturous form of death, and you will be taken to the Dune Sea and thrown into the great pit of Carkoon. That doesn't sound too bad. Nesting place of the all-powerful Sarlacc. In its belly, you will find a new definition of suffering as you slowly digest for 1,000 years. On second thought, we could pass on that. You should have bargained, Jabba. This is the last mistake you'll make. Tell that to the Sarlacc, young Jedi. Take them away. And of course, we don't get Jabba's malicious laughter in this. And here we have our last page of this part of the story. The Dune Sea. A skiff swings out over the pit of Carkoon, away from the huge sail barge it accompanies. For those of the barge, this is a pleasure cruise. For three on the skiff, a last ride. Really great exposition here from Archie Goodwin. he had a real way to bring these scripts to life in the comics with a lot of panache. Really good stuff. I think my sight's getting better, kid. Instead of a big dark blur, I see a big bright blur. Believe me, Han, you're not missing anything. I grew up here. Aboard the barge, anticipation grows, and for a very few, concern. Don't stray too far, my lovely. After the amusement outside ends, you'll soon begin to appreciate me. And again, Jabba's salaciousness is only matched by his corpulence. R2, so this is what they've done with you. How can you calmly serve drinks? They're going to execute Master Luke. And if we're not careful, us too. I don't mean to seem ungrateful, but if this is your big plan, Luke, so far, I'm not crazy about it. Jabba's palace was too well guarded. I had to get you out of there. Just stay close to Chewie. I'll take care of everything. I can hardly wait. And below, the Sarlacc stirs. To be continued. What an opening salvo in this 3-issue, I think it might be 4-issue limited series covering Return of the Jedi. We get a couple of bonus pinups to whet our appetite for the next issue. A Mighty Marvel bonus pinup section. Bib Fortuna, aid to Jabba the Hutt. So that's Al Williamson again. Cy Snoodles and the Rebo Band now playing in the throne room of Jabba the Hutt. Again, brilliant Al Williamson. And Salacious Crumb. He came as an action figure with the Jabba play set. He wasn't really, I don't think, a posable figure. He was kind of just a foam rubber figure, but he was a cool little villain. And then finally, let me see here. Yeah, we get an Imperial shuttle, and I'm not sure, I can't make out the signature, but this is not Al Williamson. And then I'm not sure who this is, but it's a great Marvel House ad. I want you to read Star Wars. Follow the continuing adventures of Luke Skywalker, brought to you each month by Marvel Comics. On sale at newsstands and comic shops all across your galaxy. So that's it. That's Return of the Jedi, #1, the Marvel comic official adaptation. Really great. It was a lot of fun. Love this Al Williamson artwork. It's so good. He was so amazing. And the Carlos Garzon inks are just a perfect match for him. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like and subscribe. Tell your friends. And I'll bring you more soon on Scott Reads Comics. Thanks for watching.